basically.
Hay tres tipos de azúcar que principalmente le pueden poner,
There's glucose,
que es la glucosa,
there's sucrose,
la sucrosa
and there's fructose.
y la fructuosa.
The simplest sugar is
El azúcar más
glucose.
simple es la glucosa.
That's what the yeast will always eat first if there's more than one present in the bread.
Si hay dentro de tres azúcares presentes en el pan, la levadura va a comer la glucosa más rápido.
So when like so in Tara, she added some sucanat.
Tara le agregó algún poco de sucanat,
This is sucrose.
que esa es la sucrosa.
So the yeast, once it runs out of glucose, will start eating sucrose.
Cuando la levadura se acabe la glucosa, va a empezar a comer la sucrosa.
And the most complex of these sugars is fructose.
That's
Y
what
la
we
más
want.
compleja sería la fructosa.
That would be honey, that would be molasses.
Eso sería la miel y la molaza.
So if it ate up all this, and then it ate up all this, and you had this in there, then it would eat that.
Así es que sería en orden. Primero comería la glucosa, la fructosa y luego la sucrosa y al final la fructosa.
And if it ran out of that, they're little cannibals, they'll eat each other.
Y si se acaban de todo, pues se muerden como caníbales y se comen unos a otros.
Ready?
Tara.
Okay, over here now.
Ahora ya estamos listos aquí con Tara.
All I did was I just took my little dough hook out of my machine.
Ya
Okay.
quité las aspas que amasan la
Here's our
masa.
dough. You see it's just a ball
Aquí está la
inside.
masa.
Now if you're making 6 loaves, it's going to be twice that amount. So you can see this thing's going to be very
Esto va a
full.
ser para 3. Si van a hacer 6, sería el doble de lo que ustedes están
So
viendo
we're just
aquí.
going to dump it out. Now if you notice I oiled my little, this is kind of my countertop, but we've got stuff down because we don't want to do it on top of this tablecloth. But at
Le
home I
puse
just do it on my
aceite,
table.
así es que en casa yo lo haría sobre la cocina. Si tienen, por ejemplo, de mosaico o si tienen de mármol, pues ahí lo pueden hacer y ponerle aceite.
Okay.
Aquí como tiene el mantel, lo va haciendo sobre ese pedacito de plástico que tiene sobre la mesa.
Okay, leave all this stuff out of the way. Now what we're going to do now is we just
Lo
simply
que vamos
take
a
our
hacer
dough
ahora,
and we're just going to kind of form it into a little ball.
vamos a hacerlo como una bola.
And then what I do, now this is something that, this is actually a little scale, okay?
Esto es una balanza prácticamente que me ayuda a pesar el tamaño de la masa.
All it simply does is it weighs from 1 to 25 pounds. There are much better scales. Someone just gave this to me, so I'm using it.
Alguien me regaló esta balanza, así es que la estoy usando.
He can actually explain a little bit about what professional bakers do. They actually weigh things out, everything, and it's very technical.
Él les puede explicar con más detalles de que en sí un panadero en sí profesional lo que hace es todo lo pesa.
So anyway, what we're going to do is we're going to weigh it out. Now, the amount of dough that I put in these pans
La cantidad de masa que le pongo en cada molde
is 1.5 pounds.
es 1,5 libras.
Okay? And then we're going to take about 1 pound of dough and we're going to make a pizza crust.
Y el resto vamos a agarrar 1 libra para hacer una
So I actually don't need three.
costra de la pizza.
But what I'm going to do first is I'm just going to weigh it to make sure that I have that amount of dough, because if you notice with my flour that I didn't measure my flour really. It says 8 to 10 cups, and that means that I only added enough flour to where the sides of the bowl began to scrape clean, and whenever there was no more flour or anything along the sides, I stopped adding flour. That's when you know you have enough flour in your dough. That's why machine makes it so easy.
Si ustedes notan, lo que yo hice, nada más le estuve agregando la cantidad de harina hasta que llegó un momento que empecé a sentir que ya no, las partes de la harina ya no se pegaban en la pared de la maquinita que se estaba amasando, y entonces no saben si cuánta cantidad de masa tiene, entonces necesita pesarlo.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to make 1 regular loaf of bread. We're going to make actually a cinnamon raisin bread, which is one of those breads over there. We're going to show you how to make that, and then we're going to make a pizza dough. So I'm going to go ahead and measure these out right now. I've got a little over 4 pounds, so I've got a
Tengo
pound and a
más
half,
arriba
pound
de
and a half,
4
and a
libras,
little over 1. So we're going to just take it to 1.
y vamos a hacerlo una para la pizza, el otro vamos a hacer la de pasas.
Pan de pasas.
Y el otro un pan normal.
A little bit more.
What she's using there is a dough knife. That's a baker's best friend.
This is called a bench knife.
Se llama el bench knife y es el mejor amigo de panadero.
Okay, so I got a pound there.
Tengo una libra aquí.
Okay, and then we're going to take this. We're going to take it in half. A little less. I'm not very good at eyeballing it. Now, you can also do this without a scale. You can just eyeball it and it'll be just fine. But
Lo
I'm
pueden
not
hacer
very good at that
simplemente
yet.
abriendo. Ahí tengo ya una libra y media.
So the reason that it's good to weigh it out is because it'll actually help your loaves be more uniform, if that makes
Cuando lo
sense.
pesan, prácticamente van a hacer sus barras de pan más uniformes. No que va a ser una más grandota, una más chiquita.
So a pound and a half.
You know, we talked earlier about why would you want to make your own bread at home?
¿Para qué quieren hacer su propio pan en la casa?
You know, one of the more I cook out professionally, the more I like eating at home.
Porque la mejor manera que yo cocino en forma profesional, la manera que me gusta mejor comer en casa que afuera.
There's a lot of crazy things that happen in the restaurant, even very nice restaurants.
Hay muchas cosas locas que pasan en los restaurantes, aún en los mejores restaurantes.
So she's kneading it, she's moving those yeast zygotes around.
Está moviendo el pan de tal manera que
You
lo
know,
mueve.
all I'm really doing at this point is I'm going to deflate it a little bit. Now this is when you get your hands in the dough. You just throw it down.
Ahora es cuando agarra prácticamente la mano sobre
You gotta get
la masa
the
y darle la forma.
de-stress very much. Very good.
Si están enojados,
man, I'll be throwing it across
la forma de quitar el estrés con alguien.
We need to pray for Esteban.
No saben qué cosa hizo él contra ella. Ven cómo se está.
Okay, so
She's
we
getting the
slammed
air
it.
out,
Yes.
so the yeast can eat again.
Está sacando
Okay,
el aire
that's
de
what
la
it should
masa
all
de tal
look like,
manera
nice,
que
pretty, and then you just plop it in the pan, okay?
de tal manera que las levaduras puedan seguir comiendo.
There's your loaf of bread, okay? And that's just gonna rise and look like one of those. And
Todo esto
every
se va a
time,
levantar y va a parecer un pan igual que este.
if you notice the difference in the height, sometimes they go big, sometimes they don't. I don't really know why yet, but I like them when they go real nice and big and fluffy and they look really pretty. That's the reason.
A veces, ok, son lo mismo.
So
Lo
they have the
mismo,
same
algunas
amount of
veces
poundage.
se levanta más que otro y no sabe por qué exactamente. A
Is
veces.
this the raisin one?
Yeah, that does have raisin stuff in it. So
Let me give you a little explanation why it might not be a little smaller.
But one second. This one also is the same, but you can see the difference. This is the same as this. It's just that I baked them at different times. The dough is a little different. Sometimes they rise, sometimes they don't. He can explain probably a little more why that happens. But for me, I get really frustrated when they go squat, and I'm just like, oh, why did it do that? And then sometimes they turn out really pretty.
In raisins,
Okay,
there's
a
a,
veces el pan se me hace, unos se levantan más y otros levantan menos y ella se frustra y bueno, en realidad yo no sé exactamente por qué pasa eso, pero les voy a explicar por qué va a acontecer eso.
Yes.
in raisins, there's a chemical called tartaric acid.
Ok, en las uvas hay un ácido que se llama ácido tartárico.
And tartaric acid is a wonderful mold inhibitor. It helps extend the shelf life of your bread.
Ayuda a extender la vida del pan,
But it also kills the yeast.
pero también mata a la levadura.
So you just need to increase your yeast a little bit, and you need to make sure that the raisins go in at the very end of the mixing cycle, if you mix them
Ok,
at all.
la única cosa que tienen que hacer es aumentarle más la levadura y otra cosa es poner la pasa al final de la que ya están amasando para que no se mueran las levaduras.
Is that the pizza there, Tara?
Excuse me?
Is that the pizza you're doing?
No, I'm doing the raisin one.
Oh,
raisin
okay,
one.
okay.
Estamos
I'm gonna
haciendo
explain in a second once I get
el
rolled
de pasas con nueces de Castilla.
So I was explaining to you the reason why I like cooking at home. One time I was out at this one pizza place, and I came in, and the manager was shorthanded, and he asked me to help make pizza.
Una vez estaba comiendo en un restaurante y el manejador del restaurante me dijo, oye, ¿por qué no me ayudas mejor a hacer unas pizzas?
So I said, sure, I would help, and PMS came in. Of course, that's a pepperoni mushroom sausage.
Y luego pronto vino el PMS, que sería el de pepperoni, ajá, salsa y,
Pepperoni mushroom sausage.
ok, pepperoni, mushroom, es lo que
Chorizo.
sería de
Chorizo.
chorizo.
Yes.
Okay, pause the story, he'll come in a second. Okay, what we're making here, that first loaf right there, that's called cinnamon walnut raisin bread, okay?
Este
So
pan
it's kind of
primero que
like,
está allá se
have you ever
llama
bought that in the store?
nueces de Castilla y de pasas.
So I've just done a pre-mix just for saving of time, but you can write down the equivalents if you want. It's about a tablespoon of cinnamon,
Unas cucharas de mesa,
Cinnamon.
tablespoon of cinnamon. It's about a half cup of, about a fourth of a cup of walnuts. These are optional, but you don't have to put those in. But I put a fourth of a
Walnut.
cup walnuts, and I chopped them
un
small.
cuarto de un vaso, todo picado,
And then I put about a fourth of a cup of sugar.
un cuarto de azúcar.
Sucanut.
Sucanut.
The sucanut stuff.
Ajá.
Okay? And then all I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna, what did you notice I do is I rolled it out to a nice, like a rectangle. And you want it about as wide as your pan. Does that make sense? About how I did that?
De la misma para cubrir aquí lo del el molde.
And then what I do is I just take those three things, mix them together, and we're just
Lo
gonna
mezclo
sprinkle
todos
it
y
inside.
simplemente lo riego adentro.
Cinnamon sucanut. Walnut.
So it's just cinnamon soup. It's like making cinnamon, like
Like cinnamon bread.
cinnamon rolls, but without all the work and effort of making individual
Es como
rolls.
si
and all
estuvieran
that.
haciendo un rol de canelas.
It's just a nice little treat, you know, like we like it for breakfast sometimes. Like you just cook it, toast it, put a little
Lo
like
pueden
healthy
tostar,
butter on it. It's really
ponerle
good.
Cinnamon rolls.
And we're gonna also throw in some raisins. Remember?
mantequilla y le podemos poner un poquito de uvas también.
You can put as little or as much as you want. I'm gonna put a little bit more. Okay, you guys can see that, yeah?
Ahora pueden ver ustedes allá.
And then I'm just gonna throw in some raisins on top.
Y
Now
le
what I
pongo
did was
las uvas pasas
I
aquí.
actually soaked these raisins.
Lo que hice es humedecer un poquito de estas uvas.
Rob was telling me not to soak them if you're gonna put them in the mixer because it'll tear them apart.
No
Well,
lo
you can
pongan
soak
acá
them,
adentro
but
porque
just-
se va
Just
rinse it over,
Yeah. What I did was I actually soaked them in warm water to kind of make them a little more plump.
Lo metí en agua caliente para que
Which
sean
one, the
más
raisins?
suavecitos,
For the purpose of them not pooling the moisture from my bread, but I
para
want
que
to
no
keep it.
saquen la humedad del pan.
Okay.
So I wanted my raisins to be plump, but I didn't want them to have to take the moisture from the bread to make them.
Quiero que estén suaves, pero al mismo tiempo que no saquen la humedad del pan.
And now all we're gonna do is we're gonna start rolling
Y
this
lo
up.
único que estoy haciendo es simplemente
So you
enrollarlo.
guys can see.
Ustedes pueden ver acá.
Can you see that?
¿Pueden ver
That's
eso?
what you want it to look like.
Drop a couple.
Creo que ustedes van a ver.
Oh. Good. You guys wanna take a picture?
This side.
Okay. We gotta work a little fast because this dough's gonna
Tenemos que ir más
start
rápido
getting
porque si
bubbles
no
on
se
it.
empieza.
Okay, so all I'm doing is I'm just kind of pulling it like you would like when you
Empieza a
roll up a
enrollar como si
sleeping
estuviera-
bag. You have to like pull it a
Como si
little bit
fueran
and
enrollando
roll.
una bolsa para dormir.
It's okay, I just want to move this so you guys can see. Uh-oh. Okay, so we're just gonna roll it up, and if you notice I kept a little bit of around the edges because I don't want it to come out in my
Porque
pan
no
and
quiero
make
que
it all
salga
like gooey
afuera
and
eso.
yucky. Okay? So you just roll it up, and then when you get to the
Lo
bottom
enrollo,
part, you just pull it up, and then
lo
you just start
cerramos
kind
acá
Get in.
of sealing it,
para
okay?
sellar.
We're gonna seal the bottom or the
Vamos a sellar
sides,
la parte de
and I
las
notice I'm pulling
orillas
them this way because this is gonna be my bottom.
y esto va a ser la parte de abajo.
Make sense? Bring our
¿Hace
pan over,
sentido?
and then we just plop it on
You're
here.
gentle with this one, you don't suck this.
She already rolled it down.
See, that's the difference. You can either take it and slam it, or you can take your
O
thing
con
and
el rodillo.
Pray for Esteban.
then you roll it out, and that takes all the air bubbles out. That's the point. You don't want air bubbles because the yeast already starts working on the stove really fast.
Porque si no, de hecho, ya trabajaron para que pueda crecer más y
You
sacar el
put it
aire.
in
So
hot
to
water.
get a uniform loaf where you don't have like if
What
you
I'm
notice this
using
one, it's got a little tumor on it.
Ese
See
tiene
that?
un pequeño tumor ahí.
So a lot of times the bubbles will just go crazy. So you have to get the bubbles out from the beginning and let it rise all
Para que se
together.
levantar puntos.
That makes sense. So this one right here is probably gonna have quite a bit of bubblage already in it because
Esta
it's
parte
been
va a
sitting
tener
there.
mucho jugo porque ha estado ahí
So if you
esperando.
notice, it's got like irregular stuff going on. It's
Informe
got bubbles
regular,
already
siempre
developing
burbujas
from the yeast.
donde están creciendo de la.
That's yeast belching and flatulating.
Esas son las levaduras que están haciendo demasiados gases dentro de la masa.
I'd love to take this around and let everybody kind of just touch it so they can know what it feels like, but I know everybody has to wash their hair, so we won't do that. But you can write me.
Yeah, let's make a pizza.
Okay, he's gonna make a
Él
pizza
va a
for
hacer
us.
una pizza ahorita, la costra de la pizza.
So you probably want to put this in a warm place, cover it.
Yeah, we
Yeah,
can do
cover it so it will rise.
So we'll just roll this out. You have to keep in mind the size of the pan that we have there.
Tenemos que pensarnos en el tamaño del molde que tenemos aquí.
Scale.
So anyways, I'm making this pepperoni mushroom sausage, right?
Y estoy haciendo la salsa de pepperoni
Excuse me.
y champiñones.
And I've got this sausage which is about this big and it's about 1/4 of an inch thick.
Es prácticamente así de gruesa
We're gonna make a dinner roll with that.
la salchicha diría.
She took it.
No es de salchicha, sino el pepperoni como chorizo.
So the fat is getting stuck all over my fingernails and